And I've been thinking a lot about, there's been so many theories out there about what happened to Nancy. And it's interesting with Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos, in his last interview he did, he said that they even have a theory that they've had for a while, but he wouldn't say what it was. There was some reporting weeks ago that the Sheriff's Department theory, the working theory, may have been a burglary gone wrong.
Guthrie's case shifted in a way few anticipated when investigators turned their attention away from the house, away from the quiet porch, and toward a vehicle that did not belong to her at all. It remained in law enforcement custody for more than 40 days. Not the Subaru resting undisturbed in her garage, but Annie's blue Honda CR-V, the same one driven by her son-in-law, Tommaso Cayenne, on the night Nancy disappeared. That vehicle was seized in the days following February 1, 2026, transported to a secured forensic facility in Tucson, and for weeks, it did not return. While Nancy's own car was processed and released with relative speed, this one stayed behind, held under the authority of investigators, examined layer by layer with an intensity reserved for only the most critical cases. Then a single detail surfaced that reframed everything. The vehicle was being reassembled. That detail carries more weight than it first appears. Because in forensic investigations, reassembly does not mark the start, it signals the conclusion. It means every component has already been removed. Seats taken out, panels dismantled, hidden compartments exposed, every inch inspected for the smallest trace. When a vehicle reaches that stage, investigators have already pushed the search to its limit. And still, whatever was discovered inside has not been made public. So, return to the night everything shifted. On January 31, 2026, Nancy Guthrie stepped out of her home in Tucson's Catalina foothills shortly after 5:30 p.m. She arranged a ride and traveled to her daughter Annie's house. That portion of the timeline is stable, documented, and supported by records. The driver spoke with investigators, provided digital logs, and was cleared without complication. The uncertainty begins with the return. After dinner, Tommaso drove Nancy back home. The distance was short, roughly 10 minutes, a route that should have left little room for ambiguity. He arrived at her driveway and, according to official statements, ensured she made it safely inside. At 9:50 p.m., the garage door closed. Nearby surveillance captured his vehicle departing at that exact moment. But this is where the timeline opens. No camera recorded the actual drop-off. No independent footage confirms those final minutes between arrival and departure. The only narrative comes from Tommaso himself. He cooperated, submitted to questioning, and passed a polygraph examination. Authorities have stated he is not a suspect. Still, one detail remains fixed. The last confirmed vehicle Nancy occupied before she vanished is the same one investigators removed and held for over 40 days. That fact does not explain itself. Creates a question. What required that level of scrutiny? Because when two vehicles are treated differently in the same case, the distinction carries meaning. Nancy's Subaru was processed and returned. Annie's Honda CR-V was taken apart, held, and examined extensively. That level of forensic attention is not routine. It signals a belief that something inside may connect directly to the disappearance. And yet, nothing from that examination has been disclosed publicly. Now widen the frame, because the vehicle is only one element in a larger pattern. There are 3 time markers that continue to draw attention, each pointing toward preparation rather than randomness. The first reaches back to January 11th, weeks before Nancy disappeared. Investigators later asked residents for footage from that specific night, narrowing the request to a precise window between 9 p.m. and midnight. Not a general sweep, but a targeted request tied to a single date. Authorities confirmed something of interest occurred during that period, yet they have not clarified what it was. The second marker emerges from the doorbell footage itself. Reports suggest not all released images originate from the same night. Some indicate the possibility that an individual may have approached the property before February 1st, observing the layout, noting entry points, learning patterns. This aligns with additional statements suggesting prior visits to the home. Then the third marker arrives in the early hours of February 1st. At 1:47 a.m., the doorbell camera went offline. When footage was later recovered, it revealed a masked figure moving with calm precision. The individual covered the camera, carried a backpack, and used a flashlight held in the mouth, leaving both hands free. There was no visible urgency. Each movement appeared deliberate, controlled, and rehearsed. Neighbors reported disruptions in internet connectivity that same night, introducing the possibility of signal interference. When these details are viewed together, they begin to form a consistent pattern. This does not resemble a spontaneous act. It reflects familiarity, timing, and an understanding of the environment that would be difficult to achieve without prior knowledge. And that pattern leads back again to the vehicle because timing and access intersect there in a way that cannot be ignored. The person who drove Nancy home that evening understood her routine, knew when she would return, and knew when the house would fall quiet. That connection does not assign guilt, but it defines proximity to critical moments. The following morning added another layer. Investigators found no signs of struggle inside the home. No disruption, no evidence of resistance, nothing to indicate a forced confrontation within. The interior remained orderly. The only indication of violence appeared outside, near the porch. For an elderly woman with limited mobility to be removed without disturbance suggests a narrow set of possibilities. She may have been coerced without noise. She may have been incapacitated quickly. Or she may have opened the door under the belief there was no immediate threat. Familiarity can lower defenses in ways force cannot. Law enforcement has emphasized that the family cooperated fully and was officially cleared, and that statement carries weight. Yet the sequence of events introduces a complication. That clearance occurred before the forensic examination of the Honda CR-V was complete. The vehicle remained in custody long after. This means conclusions were drawn without incorporating whatever evidence the car might contain. At the same time, other investigative paths were active. DNA samples, digital traces, and movement data were all under review. A mixed DNA profile recovered from the scene has yet to match existing records. The flashlight seen in the footage may hold biological material. A separate vehicle was observed leaving the area at a critical time. Each element stands on its own, but together they converge. And at the center remains the same unanswered question. What did investigators find inside that car? Nancy's life was interrupted in a single moment. Her belongings stayed exactly where she had placed them. Her medication remained untouched, her phone left behind, her routine shattered without warning. And somewhere within that narrow window of time, between a closing door and a silent home, the truth already exists. The question is not if it will surface, but when.